Hi everyone, I hope you're all fine. Welcome to Meet the Experts, the Visual Live where experts give you their advice to succeed your career path. Today I receive Arthur, Chief Project Officer at JobTeaser, and we'll speak about project, but specifically how to develop a project in a tech company. Hi Arthur, how are you?
Hi Louisa, I'm really happy to be there.
Yeah, thank you for accepting our invitation. How do you organize your remote today, your work?
Well, as always, I get hammered by my day from a meeting to another. That didn't change much for me. Actually, it's pretty productive doing Zoom meetings and so on. We are quite used to work in a decentralized way. So I'm just happy to not take the subway, to have more time to do other stuff or working. So it's pretty good for us.
Well, today you will give us your tips to know what kind of background, soft skills, hard skills you recommend for a young talent who wants to become a project manager, but also you will tell us what's a successful project and how it's managed. But before, at home, if you want to see more content, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel or follow us on our Instagram pages. For that, you just have to type JobTeaser _ and at the end, add the initials of your country. So for instance, JobTeaser _ FR, SES or DE, and so on. Before talking about projects, Arthur, can you tell us more about your university and professional background?
Yes, absolutely. As many of my peer product manager, I come from an engineering background. So I did my studies in France, inside of Lyon, which is a big engineer school. Then I got attracted by more business topics. So I did two of my internships, one in strategy and the other one in private equity. Mm-hmm. And that's what got me a bit more into the product side of things, because in private equity, you invest in companies. I worked partly on venture capital, so I invested in startups. And that attracted me to entrepreneurship. So I did the last part of study on a business school in France at HEC Paris, where I studied entrepreneurship. That was great. I loved what I did there. I started my own company then as a founder. It was an online music discovery platform. So it was cool, but it was the teenage crisis entrepreneurship thing to do something in music. It was very hard to get money. So I was broke, basically. I had to find a job, and the closest I found to entrepreneurship was product manager. So I ran into this job without knowing its existence before, and I loved it. I started in Dashlane, which is a big tech company in France. Now in I think 20 countries also, that is very wide and successful now. I had the chance to live the growth of this company. We went from 30 to 200. I was one of the first product managers, so it was great. Mm-hmm. And then I moved from product to product positions until now. Now I had the chance to lead the product team of JobTeaser in Paris. We are about 30 people, the design department, the data and the product managers. On the tech department, about 100 people working to build a great product. So I love my job.
And today, for a young graduate who wants to become a project manager, do you have any recommendations regarding the university background?
For a product manager, you have not a single path that can lead to this job. It's a pretty senior position, so it's really rare to obtain a product manager position at the end of your studies. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's possible. The main background to all of this is business. It works fine. Engineering works fine too, but it can be something a bit different. The important thing is to have a genuine love for product, to have built product. If you did that in your past as extracurricular activities, that's great. But yeah, it's not easy to get after university, but there is no a standard golden path.
And as a recruiter, what does a tech company expect from a graduate in his resume to have in terms of hard skills?
That's a good question. In terms of hard skills, usually product management, it's much more a leadership role. So we look much more at the soft skills part of things. That's at least my take. But in terms of hard skill, it's good if you can understand the craft that the people you are working with are doing. So product managers work with engineers. So if he understands how to program, that's a bonus. He works with design. So if he knows how to design, it's a bonus. He works with data. So if he knows how to extract data and use it, it's a bonus. But that's not like mandatory. You can be the best product manager without programming or doing any of those. The magic happens much more in the leadership and the soft skills area.
And for a first job, does it need to have a first experience before?
It's always better if you have an engineering experience, a programming experience, a marketing position. It's much easier to get into a product manager position because it's quite senior role. Once again, you are kind of the CEO of the product, so you have a lot of responsibilities, a lot of budget to carry on, and a wide range of decision making. But you can hack your way into the job by. I hired some people that created a product as a extra outside of their studies. They did, for example, an app for people to register to events. They did some even a very complex Excel documents to manage a project when you have multiple people that will be implied. So if you craft a product that many people will use, even a website about your music band, I don't know, but create a product, distribute it, make people use it, improve it. I think that's the best way to hack it without having any big experience in Google or Microsoft or whatever.
You speak about soft skills, but also extracurricular activities. What about those extracurricular activities? Do you recommend to have some to increase their soft skills?
And that's a good question. I think a big part of product, even if it's not the main part, it's important to say that, but it's project management. So anything you can lead as a president or as a leader, like a student association, for instance, a big project you have in school, if you can take the lead and have a team that you have to organize the work, to distribute the tasks, to set up a vision, or anything, that's great. So any activities like that, even if it could be charities, anything the leadership part is really an important side of things, especially in product, because you lead, but you have no direct management power. So you have to be a genuine leader. So all of those activities are really good. So the soft skills, you have leadership, you have a lot of communication too. It's really important to be able to crisply communicate, being crystal clear in your message. It's a big plus. So you are going to be quite exposed as a product manager. You are the face of the product for a lot of people, for your team, but for the whole company and sometimes beyond when you launch. So you have to have to be used to this exposition. So roles that are exposed, association president, politics, whatever, that can help.
So you recommend to highlight those soft skills in their resume?
Yeah, absolutely. Any leadership activity, any product building activity. You can also highlight your interest about new technologies. It's a field where people get absolutely passionate about the things you can do with technology. So if you are passionate, put it in your resume, the newsletter you follow. If you have a very big inspiration coming from the tech leaders and gurus, that's cool. The entrepreneurs you like, that's always things we like to see.
All right. And for a beginner with little to no experience, what are your recommendations to start into this field?
There are multiple ways. If you have what it takes, you can try to be hired at big tech companies that offer what we call associate product manager positions. It's a kind of training to become, at the end, a product manager. So you are assisting a product manager that is more senior, and you are doing all the little tasks of product management one by one. You have a very precise learning path that leads you to the function. Big companies do it. We start to do it at JobTeaser. We have 3, I think, associate product managers with us that are great. And it's a good way to finish with a product manager position. Or you can start by any connects activity. So something that is near product management. So it can be marketing, it can be engineering, It can be sometimes even sales in a very tech company. That could be a way also to do it. Or if you have really this passion and that's your thing, you can start your own company. That's, in my opinion, but I preach my own path here. I think it's one of the best. Having started your company, you faced all of the obstacles you will have to face as a product manager. So it's great. When I have a candidate that had its company for a bunch of years, I'm like, oh, high chances it's going to make it.
And to speak now about the project, what's a successful project? What are the measurements?
And that's a good question. I always like to, it's very basic here. You can have very fancy metrics and so on, but fundamentally a good product does three things. It delights user. So it creates a lot of engagement. It differentiates from competitors. So it creates a differentiation. Here it could be multiple aspects. It could be a brand differentiation. It could be a feature differentiation. It could be anything, but it has to be different. And last but not least, especially in this crisis context, it has to make money. It has to be profitable, else you're going to run into some troubles. So that's all of the metrics are kind of extracted from those three big pillars. So you can look at the engagement. Many companies use what we call MAU, which is monthly active users, but it depends really on the kind of product and activity you see on the platform. So there are multiple ones. I won't enter too much. Then you have the revenue, of course, the margin, the average revenue per user. You have the lifetime value, which is very used. And then you have the other ones about the differentiation. It's more about this one. We don't have a lot of metrics. It's much more about the positioning and marketing aspect of stuff. But that's it. And you have I have to mention it because it's a very famous way to monitor a product. You have what we call pirate metrics. It's very easy. It's pirate because the word is R. I don't know. It's AARRR. It's acquisition, activation, make someone like do its first real action in product. Then you have retention, make it come back and come back and come back. Revenues, make money, and referral, like get some friends in the product. So that's the whole funnel of a user into a product, like a tech product usually, and you can extract metrics from those too.
All right. And in a tech company, frequently we heard about OKR. So yeah. Can you tell us more about what's an OKR and how important are they in a tech company?
Yeah, of course. So the old world, especially in terms of software, maybe that will resonate with some of you that did projects in big companies or stuff. You have an executive committee where the CEO has an idea under his shower. Oh, we have to build a chatbot, and that comes down. Then that propagates to the whole organization. You have big strategic meetings with big roadmap planning. You plan for the projects and so on. Then it gets like propagated into multiple teams. And at the end of the day, you are like executing a list of projects. It's really not a way to succeed nowadays in technology because fundamentally you need to be very agile. You don't know what is going to work or not work when you start trying to craft a new product. So you have to try a lot of things. So if we impose you a list of projects to tackle, you won't have the agility to try to test and learn. So usually we work in tech, but it's not just for tech, it's for many companies with a framework trying to have a commitment on an objective. So an objective which is a metric, and it's that leaves the freedom to choose whatever you would like to do to reach this metric. So that comes back from, it was Intel, the CEO of Intel, that invented this framework back in the 80s, I think. Intel was doing hard drives at the time, hard drives, to store like stuff on your PC. And the Chinese started to do hard drives like 10 times cheaper than Intel. Okay. So he had to switch the whole company from doing hard drives to a new activity, which was microprocessors and processing activities. And to make sure everyone was aligned and doing this new activity, he came up with this OKRs method. So you have an objective which states what you are trying to achieve. That is very inspirational, and you have metrics. And everybody in the company had to align, had to be able to link his own activity. So, for example, if I'm in a product and I'm doing, a product to do a live chat like this, I had to be able to link it with the metrics that Andrew Rose had set. And that way, he made sure that everybody was focused on the right things. He was able to pivot the whole company to a new activity. Then all the tech scene of the Silicon Valley took this methodology and applied it. Google used it. Facebook used it, I think. All the big ones, GitLab, which is a very well-known now open tech company, are publishing openly their OKRs. You can find them on the website. So it has really taken off, and it's used in product department to give that freedom. So I give my teams like a metric they have to reach. Basically, they do whatever they want to reach it because they are the ones that are close to the field, that are close to the users. They are the ones that have to know what it's good or not, so they can experiment, do a lot of things. And usually what's great to see is that the idea they started with and the product they ended with are not the same at all.
Yeah.
They had all this liberty, to iterate, to find great things and things that work and things that have impact that you can measure at the end of the day. So it's a big methodology, widely used. It's really hard to get it right also, but that's what we use at JobTeaser. There are tons of literature on this if you want to dig a bit deeper. You can read John Doerr book about how to measure success. That's the guy who came up with it at Google, I think. But yeah, that's a big part of tech companies, how they do right now.
And to accomplish that whole work, we need a great team. So can you explain us what is a tech squad and how does it work?
Yeah, absolutely. It's really easy. Basically, it comes back also with this notion of having autonomy, the maximum possible to succeed, the opposition of imposing the work. So you have basically company into the company. That's what we call the squad. It's a micro company inside the company. What's a squad? They have all the resources they need to build the product. So they have engineers, they have data guys, they have design, they have a lot of different fields of work in the team. Okay. They are 100% allocated to this team. It's almost their company. And you have particular roles. Also, you have a product manager that lead what to do, basically. And you have often a delivery manager or scrum master, or different names depending on the framework, that leads a bit more the operations. And this team, you give them an objective that is the same for everybody in the team, and they have to reach it. They are concentrated on this single objective. They have no dependency at all to other teams, so they can move forward as fast as they want without the need of anyone else, and they are able to create like compelling product. This all comes from the now famous Spotify model that has made its way to almost all tech companies, and that it works pretty well. This one is really something that enhanced a lot the way organization craft product.
And to speak about the development, how different is the process of developing a digital product compared to a normal physical one?
That's a good question. I'm not an expert in like hardware, in hardware stuff, but I guess the biggest difference lies in the fact that in software, we can have a very iterative aspect to find the right solutions. You can quite easily do very short iterative cycles, test a lot of different options at scale on thousands of users, and kind of find your way through this method. It's a very basic way to say it. It's a bit more complex in reality, but what you can do. When you are doing hardware, it's much more complex to get a prototype on, to iterate. So you are much more on quite long cycles. I know that they are very creative. They find crazy ways to prototypes, but it's much harder. And you cannot do it at scale with tech. So it's much more of a bet approach, when you have to get it right the first time. I guess that they did a crazy work with the iPhone, for instance. They prototyped it and so on, but you have less capability to iterate like 1,000 times. So you have to be a bit more conscious about things. So it's quite different. I guess it requires much different capabilities in your teams. There are very different jobs involved in creating a hardware. You have the supply, you have logistics, you have many stuff that is not that is much more like diverse than in a tech team, I think. So it's a very different industry, but it's the two boils down to the same thing, to create a great product. So that's the same result, but a very different way to get there.
And which is the best project management process to develop a project?
I hate process. No, it's because I say that because it's quite important when people sometimes take process as religion, and they think it's a magic recipe. If you apply the process, then you're gonna come up with a great product, and that's not the reality at all. It's often very different. And we see that so much right now. I'm sorry for all the people that love this, but it's great. But it's just that it's not sufficient. But Scrum and Kanban and so on, it's good. It's good, but it's not because you implement Scrum in your company that you're going to kick ass in terms of product. Not at all. Not at all. So many companies try, they become agile by applying bluntly those processes, and it's not the case. That being said, and by the way, the whole software industry has seen quite a big revolution with agility, like agile. And agile, one of the big statements, I think there are only 4 statements in agile, if I'm not mistaken. And one of them, it's something like favor individual and interactions over processes and tools. So that illustrates perfectly the thing. And the very paradoxical stuff is that agile has introduced Scrum, and now everybody is using Scrum as a religion. So it's it achieved the opposite effect. It's funny. But after that, you have some processes, you have Scrum that is widely used. It's good, but I think we will see some very big changes in this. I'm not as happy with Scrum as I am with the Spotify model, for instance. You have Kanban, you have a lot of different processes, you have the design thinking processes, you have the lean startup process. So you have a big bag of tools. I see that as tool. And the good thing is to be able to select the right tool depending on the situation. But life is struggle. It won't help you getting the reality. So yeah.
And who's most likely to be a successful project manager?
So here again, I love entrepreneurs, but that's not the only one who can do stuff, but it's really comparable in terms of what it takes. But really, I think it boils down to people that loves building stuff. So if you loved during your childhood play with Lego, you are crazy about that, Meccano or whatever, I don't remember them all. Or if you are, the one that are dissecting all the objects they found around. I remember when I was a kid, you cannot left a pen beside me, or I would dissect it, see how it works. I was crazy about that. I love that. So people that love to see how products are built, but not only, and that's quite important in the technical aspect, so physically, but also why do they work, how they are marketed, how are they differentiated. So a good product manager can almost reverse engineer what the team has thought in terms of product. So why is it working for me? Am I in this segment, in this persona, this stuff? So that's people that love to get the truth in terms of why these things exist, how does it work, why is it made for. So it's a very good work for curious people.
And to speak about the market, what does a new tech project's introduction to the market usually look like?
And that's a good question. In big companies, you have resources that are dedicated to the go-to-market phase. It's called product marketing managers, and they work very tightly with product teams. If you are on smaller companies, the product manager does it, and that's always the same. If you're in a very product company, the product manager do the UX, the data, and the product and the go-to-market. And the more you grow, the more you have people to take those aspects, and product takes a bit of a step back. But basically, a product marketing manager usually works about what we call the 4P. Oops. Someone is coming at my house. You will see my fruit delivery.
Okay. It's the magic of the full minute.
It's the right magic, absolutely. But usually it's about what we call the 4P, which is, I believe, product, pricing, placement, and promotion. So placement, what are the acquisition channels? The product, what's your positioning? What's your unique selling proposition? The pricing, of course, what price will you enter the market with? And the promotion, the awareness and some stuff. So you kind of plan all of those things in order to make the product succeed. And it's sometimes with some product, it's more important than the product itself to launch it right. It's the case in particular with community product, with social networks and some stuff, because you need the critical mass. So it's really important to get the right users, the right content, and the strategy to get people attracted, to get people to publish, to get exclusive content. It's what will make the product succeed. So it's very exciting when you launch this, and it can sometimes like make some products succeed or fail.
And when you decide to start a project, is it better to accept imperfection at the beginning or to elaborate it fully before it's too late?
So that's a very good question, because it touches one very fundamental new way of doing things compared to 20 years ago. It's what we call lean. Lean was already used for decades in industry, but it had made its way to tech a bit after. And basically the principle of lean, it's to eliminate the waste. So you want to not build things that you're going to throw away after that. And it's really hard to do. So usually in terms of product, that means shipping the most basic product that will test your assumption or that will deliver the outcome you think it would. And you test if it's the case. If it's right, you build up on this. But basically, it's really, there is this famous quote from Reid Hoffman, the CEO of LinkedIn, that says, if you are proud of the product you shipped it too late. Okay. So yes, ship it with imperfection. That's fine. Okay. Just be conscious about which imperfection. The main purpose has to be clear, but you can have multiple imperfections. We don't care. Ship it fast.
All right. And what advice would you give to someone who has a tech idea, but not necessarily with a tech background? Would you advise they learn as much as possible about tech, or to embark in the new adventure?
That's a very good question too, because a lot of people think that they have to have a development like programming capabilities to start product or to test an idea. And that leads to very big failures. That's not the case at all. What you need actually, and it's much more design abilities. Now we can test some ideas by doing like very high fidelity prototypes using tools like Figma and so on. And by doing that, you can very quickly transfer what is an idea to an actual prototype that you can have people tested and so on. And that way, sometimes you figure out that, you do the prototype in a matter of 1 or 2 days, you test it, it doesn't work, you iterate and so on. The opposite, when you have a tech team too fast, is like you are launching them into creating something huge. You take months to do it. You launch it on the market. Yeah. It doesn't work sometimes, but I've seen that so many times. I'm used to be a coach for a startup incubator at HEC, and so many people fall into this trap, having a big tech team, having a CTO very soon because they think they have to build a product from the start. And no, you can't really start. Like, I think in our company, in JobTeaser, Adrien and Nico started by selling based on a PowerPoint, a deck. And that's great. They prototyped their stuff. They made it look real. And if it works, you know that you're on the right track. And it can get sometimes to reach this state. So start with good designer, or you can try to get those design skills. There are multiple MOOCs and teaching platform that cover this, but the main tools are Principle, Figma, Sketch, and you can, 5 years ago, we thought you need a good CTO, now you need a good designer.
And the last question, how do you network with a tech company?
Oh, that's the good thing with tech. I think it's that it's maybe the easiest scene to network because it's emerging. A lot of people are super excited. Things are not very defined yet. So many people are looking to improve the way they do their job, and they do that by having a lot of meetups. So in Paris, we have right now, I think of 4 different meetups on product, only on one field of work. You have the same on data, you have the same on engineering. So go to these meetups, you will meet a lot of people that will help you to see what attracts you and what doesn't. And yeah, a lot of things happen on Twitter, Medium, so you can follow the right accounts. There are many like very good influencers on tech. I love myself Ben Evans. If you can follow this guy, he was a very famous Silicon Valley investor, and he has a lot of insights on tech. And there are multiple ones. If you love product, I can also advise Lenny Rachiski, which is great. Yeah. So, and you can also get to the entrepreneurship scene. People that start their startup. There are a lot of meetups and stuff around this. It's quite of a fashion nowadays to start your company. It was not the case like 10 years ago, but now it is. So yeah, just get outside or get on Twitter if you are a bit more introverted. But yeah, you have multiple ways to do it.
Well, thank you very much, Arthur, for sharing your experience and your tips.
My pleasure.
You at home, if you want to see more content, once again, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel or follow us on our Instagram pages. You just have to type JobTeaser _ and add the initials of your countries. Thank you very much once again, Arthur. Good luck for the rest of the confinement. And see you guys at home very soon for a new Visual Live. Bye.